Impossibly Glamorous Studios presents Tea with Charles, starring Charles St. Anthony.
Coming at you from my studio in fabulous Los Angeles, this is another episode of the Tea with Charles podcast. I am your host, Charles St. Anthony. Giving a quick shout out to my very first Patreon. I have to say thank you to JT. JT, you are a true rock star. People can support the Tea with Charles podcast at patreon.com/Tea with Charles. And now on with the show. Joining me today is one of the most important people in my life. She's the talented, the gracious, and incomparable Marcella Hammer.
Ooh, I feel so humbled and honored by such an incredible greeting. Hello, Charles. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I am very excited to see your face and chat with you here on the Tea with Charles podcast. You are coming to us from a city called Saratoga Springs in New York State. So for those of us that don't know New York State that well, where is Saratoga Springs situated?
So Saratoga Springs is about 30 miles north of Albany, which is the capital of New York State. Little known fact, New York City is not the capital of New York State, nor the world, though it feels like it.
How far is it from Woodstock?
So we're probably about an hour plus, like an hour and 15 minutes from Woodstock, and about half an hour from Albany-ish. Depends on how fast you drive. I've actually never been to Woodstock. Isn't that terrible? I'm a terrible hippie.
You said it's an hour which direction?
South. Everything is south. I'm in upstate
It's an hour
New York.
south. So it's
Yes.
That is like upstate. How far from Canada?
I don't know. I guess probably like 3 hours from Canada. So we're just about equidistant from Boston, Montreal, and New York City. So it's about 3 hours to Boston, about 3 hours to New York, about 3 hours to Montreal. We are like the we're the amazing micropolitan place that kind of lays in the middle of a valley amongst the cows.
That sounds fantastic. I dream about getting out of this smog and going to visit you. I cannot wait. Sometime I will come to Saratoga Springs. For those who don't know Marcella, she has been my rock, my muse for more than a decade now. Let's share with the Tea with Charles listeners exactly how we met. What do you remember of how we met, Marcella?
You know, the first thing that comes to mind is Delisted. We met because of Delisted, but it wasn't really because of Delisted. So technically we met because you posted a Craigslist ad seeking an editor, and the ad mentioned the sense of humor of Delisted, which, you know, I can't even lie, is one of the greatest blogs of all time, especially entertainment-wise, especially a decade ago when we met once upon a time in San Francisco. It was really funny. And that is all I remember. It was so long ago. So much has happened.
So much has happened. So we were both living in San Francisco. I put out an ad to get an editor because I had been working on this book called Impossibly Glamorous, and Marcella was the only one that properly read the ad. I got like more than 100 replies to this Craigslist ad looking for an editor. Marcella, I was just so excited because we met through the ad and we set up a time to meet near a station called Glen Park in San Francisco. And we met at a coffee shop, and I fell in love with Marcella at her wonderful aura and, you know, how she would, you know, listen to the crazy things I was wanting to do. You know, since then, you've worked on all my original books. So all of them, Impossibly Glamorous, San Francisco Daddy, and then the gig economy short reads, such as my new work, Beverly Hills Postmate, which just came out. Being an editor, that's like it's a pretty challenging thing to do, don't you think?
Yes. But I think anytime you are a creative, whether you're a writer, an editor, or really anything, whether it's written word or paintings or anything, it takes a lot. And an editor is a little different than a writer because you have to be able to read the map without being able to maybe necessarily read the whole map and help the writer to get their vision out. And I guess I'm just psychic enough that sometimes I'm really good at it. But at the same time, like, I love working with you because, first of all, Charles, you're hilarious and you barely need me. Let's be real.
I need you.
I have to tell you about our first meeting at the Glen Park station. I was so nervous to meet you. So the thing that I don't know if, and everyone knows about San Francisco, and perhaps this is not true 10 million years later, I guess only 10 years later, but I moved here from New York, and whether you're in New York City or in upstate New York, when you have a business meeting, you get dressed up. You don't go dressed like a schlep. And I remember the first, and it wasn't with you, but the first business meeting I had with a potential client or with a client in San Francisco, I got dressed up. I wore a dress, you wear a dress, you get dressed up. And she looked at me and she goes, "You just got here, didn't you?" She walked in jeans, super casual, sneaker. I was like, man, they do not dress up in San Francisco. That being said, I dressed up for you. I was so nervous and I had to make sure I had the most appropriate outfit that would make you see that I'm whimsical and humorous and also cool, even though I'm deeply uncool at the same time. So I wanted you to like me. I'm glad you do. It worked.
I love you, Marcella. You have held my hand through some extremely traumatic publishing ordeals, because I guess most people don't know about writing a book, even a self-published one like I've released. There's this period, I would say the last 3 weeks before the book comes out, where every author has a complete meltdown because you've been working on whatever the book is for years. It's like the author meltdown. You've got 2 weeks to go. You keep finding typos. You don't know if people are going to like it or they're going to drag your name through the mud on the internet. For me, anyway, I have almost always had a complete meltdown just before the release of anything that I put out. And I have to thank you for for even being here today, because a lot of people would probably run screaming off into the woods and be like, no, I can't handle this. But let's talk about San Francisco for a second.
I love talking about San Francisco.
So all right, let's take everybody back to the setting where we first met. This was 2011. How long had you been living in San Francisco?
Oh gosh, probably less than a year. Not too long.
Less than a year?
Yeah. When did we meet? I don't even remember what month it was. I moved right before the Giants won the baseball thing, the World Series. That took me a minute. And that was 2010.
2010. I moved to San Francisco in May of 2011 because I had been in that big earthquake in Japan, and then I came back to the States, and then I moved to San Francisco because I was in Sacramento, and it wasn't, I don't know, I'd always dreamed of living in San Francisco, and we were in a different state of mind. We were there and we were both kind of searching for something, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
I miss who I was in San Francisco a little bit because I just did not give a fuck. I just wanted to have fun and meet as many cute guys as possible and just tear a warpath through the Castro district. What state of mind were you in when you were living in San Francisco?
Well, to begin with, the original formula of Four Loko was legal. And I think that anyone who is alive during that time and drank one really has no answer for that. No, I'm kidding.
What's really a Four Loko? I never had one.
Oh my gosh. It was this malt beverage that I had for the first time after the Giants parade, the World Series Giants parade. And I was with my roommates and we were walking through the Tenderloin and we went into a convenience store and out came this Four Loko. And so Four Loko was like an alcoholic beverage that had caffeine in it.
How does it taste?
Like shit. Awful. It tastes like Oh my God. Like the ball sweat of a Sour Patch Kid.
The ball sweat of a Sour Patch Kid? Oh my God. That's hilarious.
That's being kind. And so you drink it and then you remember nothing. Chaos ensues.
When I was in San Francisco, I was into drinking type of IPA beer called Total Domination. And Total Domination, it was very hoppy and I loved it. And Total Domination will get you fucked up for sure. So you were on the Four Loko. I was on Total Domination.
Oh, I wasn't just on the Four Loko. We were on everything. I was on the Anchor Steam. I was on the Lagunitas. And if you live in San Francisco, they drink shots of this stuff called Fernet. And it's just, I drink a lot. And I think like we had my path was kind of similar. It wasn't through the Castro. It was through everywhere else. And I was just like I was really happy because one of the things about San Francisco is that people just are who they are. At least they were 10 years ago or 12 years ago, or I can't do the math anymore. And I felt so happy and comfortable to be in a place that was just full of vibrancy and people swirling around, living their lives and swirling in and out of the mist. I loved it.
It was amazing.
And it's
an amazing place. I feel a little bit heartbroken because I feel like the good San Francisco is mostly gone. I feel like San Francisco used to be kind of this safe harbor for people who are different and artists and whatnot. And now the people who are succeeding in San Francisco are the same people that succeeded at everywhere. They didn't need San Francisco. And I moved to San Francisco expecting it to be kind of, I thought this was it. I won't need to go anywhere else. It was just too hard. It got too hard for me. It was just too expensive. And I feel like that Four Loko and Total Domination beer was fun for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like the social life in San Francisco involved a lot of drinking. And
it sure did.
It sure did. Speaking of...
etc.
So we had our San Francisco moment. When did you move back to New York?
So I came back to New York in July 2012. You know, the thing about San Francisco is that, and maybe this is just me, but I don't think it is, that you feel like you never really leave in some ways. That it kind of gets into your heart and soul and your brain. And for me, I do have a concept of time. I'm not like a goldfish in a bowl, but it so much feels like just yesterday that I was there. And maybe it was all the alcohol, or maybe there is something a little bit inherently magic with the city, even though the tech bros have gained control.
Like I moved there expecting it to be the end all for me. It kind of wasn't. And I moved to LA thinking my life would kind of end up being a disaster, and things are kind of going well for me here.
Funny how that works out.
Well, for what, I just, I guess last week I hit 2 years of complete sobriety. I haven't touched alcohol in 2 years.
Awesome.
I haven't touched anything else. LA, it encourages a kind of vanity that can be healthy in a way. It's like, all right, well, everybody else is getting in shape, so maybe I will just put the sauce down and hit the gym. And I miss the fun we had in San Francisco, though.
I do as well, but I don't miss the alcohol. I really don't. Congratulations on 2 years. That's amazing, Charles. That's wonderful. I think that for all the fun that we had there was a downswing. And, you know, as much excitement as there was, I find it easy to forget how depressed I was a lot of the time. And how, yeah, I mean, you like see people everywhere who were suffering in addition to people who were thriving. And I think it's easy to forget what it felt like to walk past the same homeless people every day and to see the people who built literal nests in Golden Gate Park, and that was where they lived. And that all existed in contrast to like me being myself and having fun and exploring and being, having the greatest time, like really probably of my life, way more fun than college. Let's just put it that way. San Francisco is way more fun than college, for me at least. But
the scene cannot be denied. This is news to me. What were you feeling depressed about in San Francisco?
Everything. It wasn't the city, it was me. And I think that that's something that I've dealt with my whole life. And I've always had a little bit of depression going on. I was not seeing a therapist at the time. And I hated a lot about myself. Don't we all? I don't know. I didn't miss my family so much in New York, and it wasn't homesickness, but I think that, I was trying to find myself, and sometimes that can be really painful.
That can be painful for sure. And I'm sorry you went through that. As you mentioned just now, in 2012, you repatriated yourself to upstate New York. How did you feel when you got back to New York?
Oh, I felt like an absolute shitbag. I never planned to come back to New York. And I think kind of like you, I thought San Francisco was where I would be. And that was it. That was the end all be all. And I actually only returned to upstate New York because my dad was dying. So I came back to watch the end of his life, and kind of it was comforting to be here where I grew up, but at the same time, it was a complete and utter traumatic disaster. But I mean, I'm okay. I'm great now. I'm actually like thriving and relatively successful? ?
May your father rest in peace. I remember you going through that, and it's good we had our adventure in San Francisco, and it's good that we both found something else. So people can know now, you are involved in a community in Saratoga Springs called Palette. I'm going to mess it up if I try to describe it. Can you describe to our listeners, what is Palette? Who does it serve? What kind of community is it in Saratoga Springs, New York?
So I am a 42-year-old adult woman, and my job title is resident unicorn.
I love it.
And it's amazing. So, and that is with the Palette organization. So it is a cafe, but it's also a co-working space and a community, really above all things. So it is a physical location in Saratoga Springs, and also south of here in Schenectady, New York. We have a second location. But it is a community for human beings who want to level up in career and in life. And the whole basis of it is through collaboration and positivity and inclusion, which is like kind of a big deal and really fun. We're about 90% women, 10% we say emotionally evolved males-ish. But it's so much fun because what I do is kind of work with operations, and then I work with our community members to develop programming and also just connect them with ideas and solutions and each other to change their lives. Like, I get to change lives.
That is fantastic. So you're the resident unicorn of this community center / cafe Palette. As we were getting ready today, you mentioned there's a lot of boobs and vaginas on the wall. Oh,
there's so many. We have an art gallery wall in this location, and the artist, her name is Monica Bill Hughes. And you're going to love this. Like, she does these abstract paintings inspired by the experience of being a woman. And one of her motifs is like Nicki Minaj's booty and high heels and like boobs. And it's just so much fun. Really bright neon brights and colors and glitter. And then there's pizza and hot dogs. And it's just this very playful art exploration of some of these motifs. It's really fun. Yeah, boobs everywhere. I love, Charles, you'll appreciate this. I love when children come in and parents think it's just a beautiful art wall. And so they put their kids in front of it and take their picture right next to a huge ass.
I love it. It's part of the human body. We should celebrate it. That sounds wonderful. So you have this artwork on the wall. You've got this titty extravaganza. You have coochie galore. You're the resident unicorn. What other kind of meetings are coming in and out of Palette?
So what I actually shockingly run a writers club, and it's one of our most popular events. So that is just a chance for people who are either writers or want to work on their creativity to come together and improve their skills. And that's actually a lot more fun than it sounds. I also host a true crime club here, which is not business related unless you're in the business of murder, which you shouldn't be because that's illegal. But it's super popular and I really like it. In addition to that, we have like very business centered events, more networking focused. Anything you can imagine.
I love it. So it sounds like you've got a lot going on there at Palette. Is there a way that my listeners who aren't in upstate New York can take part?
Absolutely. Follow us on Instagram at Palette Community. And we also, if you're old enough to be on Facebook, we often broadcast things live onto Facebook, whether they're individual events or other shenanigans. And that's a nice way to kind of follow along. Or things like my Writers Club and the True Crime Club are digital events, and you can get on the mailing list for that. And then, we all kind of live in this semi-virtual, half-real world where we interact with people in Zoom, etc. So it has opened up the ability to be a part of events like that to people who definitely don't live in the capital region or Saratoga Springs. That's like what they call it here, the capital region. So pretentious. We're from the capital region. Yes, we're going to Albany. It's so Hunger Games.
Oh, it is.
Sounding.
It is. Okay. And may the odds be forever in your favor. All right. While we're on this Hunger Games tip, we're going to keep things hot here at Tea with Charles podcast. We're going hotter and hotter. I want to get into some fun entertainment ads, news-related topics. Marcella, are you ready to get into some of these scorching hot topics?
Charles, I was born for this moment.
Pour yourself some tea and let's dive into these hot topics.
This is the first Tea with Charles in like 9 months or so. So I've got some catching up to do. I missed the end of the discussing the election on the Tea with Charles podcast. How do you feel now that Joe Biden is president? Isn't it just a different vibe overall?
I am not as emotionally triggered by men's voices as I was before. Yes, it's much more peaceful. Oh, such instigation.
Because I volunteered at the call center for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because I was like, if Trump gets elected again, I could not live with myself if I did nothing. So I got into it. I worked at a call center. We were calling people in like swing states like Florida and Virginia, and people in Pennsylvania were usually very grouchy to hear from me. I'm like, hi, I'm Charles from the Harris Biden campaign. I got a few fuck offs. Just, I want to say that too to some of these, robocallers. Pennsylvania in general, that was the hardest swing state I had to deal with. What do you remember? Because October and November felt very tumultuous in the United States because the call system that we were using, it would mess up a lot while I was calling people. And I was like, oh my God, Joe Biden's going to lose. His phone system is shit. I can't tell people about Kamala. How are they going to know how great she is if I can't call this asshole in Pennsylvania that's telling me to fuck off? I really thought there was a moment I thought he could lose. I was like, the United States is over. He's not going to make it.
Yeah, no, I had that experience actually when I voted. And so where I am, I mentioned the cows. And so the city I live in, Saratoga Springs, is beautiful. And it seems very progressive. But in reality, it is actually quite a conservative area. I make much more sense living in San Francisco than I do here. And so I don't even know if I told you this, Charles, but when it was voting day, it happened to be an early voting day that I could go. And so I went on Halloween and I dressed up as a witch just to be like kind of little anti-Trump action, like the witches are coming after him. And, you know, I was with my friend and her dog, who was also dressed like a witch. And I remember seeing so many people who were straight up wearing Trump like outfits, like the shirts, and feeling really discouraged. And people driving up and down the street with like the big loud trucks and the Trump flags flying, and the reappropriation of the American flag to mean like these racist things. And I was like really frightened.
They were doing those recounts in Nevada, and it was taking so long. I was like, how do you guys fuck this up quite this royally? I was like, I'm going to drive to Nevada today and like help you count these fucking votes, because there's no way that Donald Trump was taking this state with such a large Hispanic population. That I remember being on pins and needles. Then the crowning glory moment, Biden finally won. We cannot get complacent.
No. And, you know, that's kind of the what I worry about as well is that now that I'm not as triggered, and I think a lot of people aren't as triggered to action. I mean, notwithstanding the entire last year with the global pandemic and like major societal awareness on racial issues and the structuralized race, like all of that, like not just that, but it has just been like, I don't want to see. I never want an experience like election night in 2016 when I woke up in the middle of the night and found out Trump won and then projectile vomited and then felt that same projectile vomit over and over again until, I mean, it's still there. It's like still there, like just down in the bottom of my throat. It could come up in it. No.
Getting rid of Trump was kind of like, I feel like it was getting out of an abusive relationship. Because we all got used to the highs and lows of the drama, right? It's like, I feel like antsy. I can't relax. Is it okay to have this adult saying such normal adult sounding things, running things? It's like, I want to look behind, over my shoulder and make sure that, are you mentally scarred as I am?
Oh, absolutely. I'm completely scarred. And, I was just thinking of the way that we met and our mutual love of Michael K. from Delisted. I think he would have done a much better job than Donald Trump and have said way less offensive things.
And now for some news that's truly important.
I would say maybe the biggest story, in addition to that, the last 6 months. Did you watch the Oprah special with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle?
Well, as a fellow redhead, I didn't. No, I didn't. I just watched the recaps. No, man, I ain't got time for that. I just watched the recaps.
I'm kind of funny because I don't like the royal family. I don't care about them, really. I feel like, I don't know. Are you interested in them?
No, I just watched the recaps of the royal family. I just watched the recaps. No, I'm not invested in them. I am invested in pop culture. And so I have to kind of get it with them. But I'm not like a fan. Yeah, just read the recaps. You're fine.
I feel like the United States, it's like we drove these people out by the point of a shotgun 200 years ago. It's like, I don't want him back here. Because he's nearby. He's in Santa Barbara with Meghan Markle. My big thing with Meghan Markle is I feel like she seems like a delightful person, but I think she learned something that a lot of U.S. Americans learn when they go to the UK. Sometimes you get burned. I've made up a new word for it. I call it getting markled. It's like I did it myself. I went to London on business a couple times. People can be rude to you in ways that you didn't realize were possible. I was like, oh, when people from the UK come here, we roll out the fucking red carpet for them, right? I'm like, they get, everybody's like, oh, I love your accent. And I call it getting markled. I got kind of a frosty reception when I went to London. I would say, Madonna had it when she was married to Guy Ritchie. What was her name? Wallis Simpson, that was married to the guy who was going to be king, had to abdicate or something. I don't know her full story, but in each of these situations, I feel like we got markled. And because I feel like Meghan, she's a California girl. She's a sunny, delightful California girl. You know, British people have this thing where they kind of like to, they have that special sense of humor, right? They like to take the piss out of people. So I think she went over there thinking that, you know, everyone's going to love me. And she got there and the castle was drafty. There's like mold everywhere making her sneeze. And, you know, this Duchess Kate was probably being a bitch to her or something. And she was just like, this sucks. She was like, this sucks. I hate this moldy castle. These people are rude to me.
Food sucks. I don't want fish in a biscuit. Thank you. No.
Meghan Markle, you know, that happened. But I'm true. You do know enough about the Oprah interview that she was talking about. Somebody had kind of stepped over the line and asked her, like, made a racist comment about the baby. Who's the stealth racist that they wouldn't out on TV?
I think it's Harry's brother. I think it was his brother.
You think it was William?
Yeah, I do. Who do you think it was? Daddy?
I think it was a lesser royal.
What if it's, you know what? I bet it was Kate. That bitch. I bet it was Kate. Because no one would say it was her, and I bet it was her. But I kind of think it was his brother. It was Kate. It was Kate. Kate did it. Kate did it. I changed my mind. It was Kate.
You think it was Kate? I think it was like a lesser royal, like Eugenie or Beatrice or someone, or like, and sometimes, all right, sometimes us white people say shit that turns out to be offensive without knowing it. And I wonder if that's how it is. I wonder if whoever in her family was like, I wonder who the baby will take after. And Meghan took it as this racist, offensive comment.
You know, also, I've heard tales that they don't like redheads in the UK. And so maybe it was like an anti-redhead thing. Yeah, they like don't like to kick a ginger, all that stuff. Maybe they just didn't. Yeah, they didn't want it to look like Harry and be all like redheaded. That's a genetic mutation all on its own that we could talk about for a while, is the redhead thing. Oh, so not everyone likes redheads, especially redheaded men. No offense. They're kind of revolting for the most part, except for Harry. You know, it's true. They all look like they crawled out from under a rock. And so as a redhead, I can say these things and it's not as offensive. But redheads, when we get together, all we do is talk about sunscreen and how much we don't have eyebrows and visible eyelashes.
I will say this, though. If ginger men get a raw deal in the straight community, the gay community has a big fetish for redheaded men. I remember in San Francisco, there was a gay party for people who wanted to get with a redheaded guy, and it was called Red Meat.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
If you're a redheaded guy and you're feeling a little bad about, you know, the ginger stigma, I mean, there's plenty of gay men out there that will go for it. I will teach you, this is something you probably didn't know about the gay community, Marcella. I guess we can't say Eskimo anymore, right? Is it Inuit now? I don't know. I don't know all these words, but what we said back in the day is that Eskimos use every part of the whale, right? Or the Inuit use every part of the whale. That's how gay men are with different types of men. Like, if you're like cockeyed with a hunchback and a snaggletooth, there's a guy out there with, you know, a hunchback snaggletooth fetish that will totally go for that. So gingers, fear not.
That's amazing. That's good to know. You know, I only kind of can speak to the experience of a straight giant redhead and the rest of my kind, like the redheaded women. And we're used to just being completely like sexualized by men at all times, especially like they're so disgusting. They're like, oh, wait, what did they say? Does the carpet match the drapes?
How dare they? All
the time. And you know what, Charles? It freaking does, you bastards. Get out of here. Go home. Go home. You know it does. Get out of here.
There's a lot of hot redheaded ladies out there.
Yes, and also ugly ones, just like men. Without makeup, we're like, wait, do you even have eyebrows? No. Why do you look so, what are those designer bags under your eyes? Ugh.
If somebody's giving you some ginger stigma, send them my way. I will beat them up because nobody puts my Marcella in a corner like that. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Oh, definitely not. But I will tell you one thing about redheads that is really interesting that other redheads don't know is 2 reds don't make a right. So never date another redhead because everyone will think you're dating your sibling. No, it's disgusting. 2 reds don't make a right. It's like taboo. It's so wrong.
But anyway, nobody ought to kick a ginger. This was very educational. Thank you, Marcella.
You're welcome. Thank you. I learned so much. Wait, what was the party called? The redhead party? The red meat? Oh, love it. Red meat.
Next in our hot topics, we are talking about Chrissy Teigen, the woman on everyone's lips right now, but not for the right reasons. To catch people up to date, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot. So Chrissy Teigen, which up till now had been she's John Legend's wife, and she's known for making these little statements on Twitter or whatnot, and everybody thinks she's so funny. Turns out she was a cyber bully, and she was tweeting to people to kill themselves and bullying Lindsay Lohan. How dare she? Bullying Courtney Stodden. Okay, not right. Don't tell those strangers to do that sort of thing. I, for one, am surprised. Was Chrissy Teigen really on your radar at all, Marcella? Her name has been popping up these last few years.
I think that I was just so naive that I thought she was just funny and witty and that maybe there was no dark side to it. But I guess I should have known better because she spends or seems to spend a lot of time on the internet. And what good can come of that? Truly. On the Twitter?
Because her brand, even if she wasn't like super A-list, it's like she's someone they would go to when they needed a comment on Entertainment Tonight or something. They would be like, oh, Chrissy Teigen said this about the Oscars. And, isn't she delightful and funny and has all these witty things to say? I think she mean texts when she's drunk. I think she was drunk and thought she was being funny. And I guess you can't use that as an excuse.
Well, I think often we think we're being funny and sometimes we're just being mean, and what is funny and what is mean. I empathize with her. I feel really bad that not that she was caught, but that she thought they were funny, these things that she was saying. And I think we all have things we've said on the internet we regret. I
have to delete every other thing that I write because I'm in comedy, they call it a blue joke, I think, when you kind of cross the line and I'm like, oh, that's too blue. Maybe I shouldn't write this. Maybe it's not a good thing. Maybe people won't enjoy it coming from me. I don't see how you could think some of those things she said was funny. I could see when you're at home watching some trash TV and you make some smart comment God, look at her hair, look at that makeup, whatever. You're kind of dissing someone that way, but to reach out to someone so that they can see it, that's next level cyberbullying.
It is, but I think a lot of people probably experience that because they, we all talk shit. Let's be real. But oftentimes it's in coffee shops, or if there's a water cooler in an office and people go there, it's places like that. And the internet can be so empowering for such talk because you don't think there are going to be consequences. But guess what? We read the internet. I remember every mean comment people have said to me, sort of. Yeah. Nah. Yeah. You remember.
I get online reviews and not all of them are good. And I just shouldn't read them because people don't realize it's that was 2 years of my life trying to make something fun and entertaining. And they just, what was it? Somebody said that my book should be recycled or something like that. I was like, you mean, hilarious motherfucker. How dare you? San Francisco Daddy was a work of art.
The audacity.
It is.
It was a work of art. It is.
I will say this, though, because I've got a Chrissy Teigen story. I have actually met her. All right, I'm going to dish. So I was in a building in Brentwood, and I was in Brentwood for work. It's kind of this posh area. O.J. Simpson lived there. Marilyn Monroe lived there. I feel like Brentwood's got some bad juju. I just don't like it. So it's like very wealthy, but it's also it's got a lot of entertainment people. I was in this building and in walks Chrissy Teigen in this lime green pantsuit, like head to toe, like lime green. She looked like the most beautiful person in the Emerald City. And she pulled it off. She looked good. I knew it was her because she had a couple like entourage-y kind of people with her. And I could tell they were her entourage because they both looked like they were wearing about $5,000 worth of clothes. It was like, they might have just been in sneakers, but those were $1,000 Dolce & Gabbana sneakers or something like that. They didn't look like normal schlubs walking around LA. It was like, here in comes obviously Chrissy Teigen and a couple of her entourage. And she came right up to me. And you know what she said? Go jump in a lake. No, just kidding. No, Chrissy Teigen said to me, where's the elevator? And I told her. And she said, thank you. She was nice. I thought, oh, that's Chrissy Teigen. And she seems nice. And she can pull off a lime green pantsuit. I directed her to the elevator. And that was my Chrissy Teigen encounter. I had no idea that she would go on to harass and bully Lindsay Lohan.
Not Lindsay. Lindsay doesn't need to be bullied. Poor Lindsay.
Poor Lindsay. Leave Lindsay alone. She's been through enough.
She's a redhead. She suffers.
I wish well for Lindsay. I hope she can shake it off, all this bullying by Chrissy Teigen. A lot of sponsors and whatnot have dumped Chrissy Teigen now. What do you think is going to happen? Can she come back from this?
I think that... Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think like if what we've read from her interactions in the media is actual authenticity as opposed to performative authenticity, then absolutely she can come back.
John Legend is like standing by her side. So I applaud him for that. They say stand by your man, stand by your woman. Chrissy stepped in it. They had a phrase in Japanese show business that always makes me think of these situations, like when somebody steps in it and really messes up publicly. In Japan, they say a rumor lasts 75 days, which basically means things will blow over. 3 months from now, we'll have forgotten about this. A couple people will be like, oh yeah, Chrissy Teigen, she said some bitchy things, but people won't be talking about it. She'll say something witty on Twitter again, and we'll be like, oh, that Chrissy, she's hilarious. I'll remind everybody of her lime green pantsuit and what a delight she was to me asking for the elevator. I think she strikes me as a survivor.
And the plot thickened, and I wish I could remember the guy's name, but there's that former Project Runway designer who said that Chrissy was bullying him, and then fake screenshots were created of all of this bullying, but it's like kind of fake. Was that actually done by Chrissy?
Michael Costello.
Thank you, Michael Costello. I just know the Project Runway designer guy. Do you think that was fake? Do you think Chrissy did it?
There's like levels to this story.
So many levels. Like, because Chrissy was bullying and being a bitch to Lindsay. We don't dispute that. But then this Michael Costello, he was a designer that appeared on Project Runway reality show a couple times. And I remember him from the show. I was like, oh, he's pretty good. And he's one of the few that's gone on to have a legitimate career in fashion. He's like dressed Beyonce and a lot of other celebrities. He's here in LA. But when this Chrissy Teigen drama started, he raised his hand and was like, Chrissy Teigen bullied me as well. And because there was all this drama, whether he was racist and said the N-word. And then Chrissy said she was going to ruin his career. And then, like you mentioned, Marcella, it came out that, unfortunately, Michael Costello seems to have possibly, allegedly, doctored some images to make it look like Chrissy Teigen is bullying him. I hope it's not the case, but it's like next level thirsty, right? It's weird. It's pretty weird.
If it's fake, it's next level thirsty. If she was doing that, trying to ruin his career, well, that's not good either.
No, my thought is not that she would be doing it to ruin his career, but that she would do it and make him the fall guy for trying to mess with Chrissy, and then everyone would like her again because this man messed with her.
I think it's altogether possible. You know what I think? I think there's a grain of truth in what Michael Costello is saying. I think she did try to fuck with his career, but I also think he might have fluffed up his allegations a bit. News outlets are saying that the images possibly aren't legitimate. So who knows?
You know, I think the whole conversation is so interesting. And, you know, the internet bullying conversation needs to be had. Have you been like bullied like in real life in addition to the internet? Oh my gosh, you'll love this. The guy that was my 8th grade bully and in junior high school here in Saratoga Springs, New York, went on to become a Hollywood director. And yeah, he just did a Kristen Wiig movie in the past year, the Barb and Star movie. But he was such a jerk to me in high school, or not in high school, in junior high, made my life completely miserable in 8th grade. And I would never call him out on social media, just on the Tea with Charles.
Torturing you in junior high, and now he's a big Hollywood director?
Exactly. Listen, I had a bowl cut. I deserved it, I guess.
You didn't. No one deserves it. No one deserves it. Because that shit sticks with you. But if you're saying he became a director here, it might be what he deserves. Because I'm enjoying my Los Angeles moment. There are just some stank people here in LA. So if that's the path he chose, I guarantee you, he's getting bullied now. This is his karma. He's getting bullied by the producer. Chrissy Teigen's on the phone telling him to kill himself. And
well, you know, like my whole thought, Charles, is that, you know, I did just mention this to you, but like, no, I'm not going around saying, oh, this like guy bullied me, because I don't give a shit. And I have nothing to gain from saying that someone did that. I wonder what Courtney's motivation was so much later, so many years later. Do you know what I mean? Like, why now, Courtney? Why now? She's been through so much. Talk about someone going through. They've been through so much. They have. Correct. Sorry, Courtney.
She's non-binary?
They are, I believe.
Oh my God. This is a lot for my Generation X brain to process, but I will do my best.
Yes, I always try to do my best. I'll fuck it up, but I'll do my best.
Millennials, just let Generation X get used to it, because it's a lot sometimes. Our brains aren't as fast anymore. If I know it, I can respect it. Why was she famous? I forget why she was famous.
Because that scary guy that was the old guy was like a sex predator and married Courtney when they were like 14 years old. Don't you remember the D-list? This is canon. D-listed canon here. Doug something.
All right. So she was the one, she married the much older guy when she was a teenager, right? They had a reality show. That's who Courtney Stodden is. She's now non-binary, and Chrissy Teigen was like dunking on her. Why do you think it is? What does your woman's intuition tell you?
I really genuinely, I don't know.
Because from my point of view, it's like, well, her star is kind of faded. Nobody's really talking about her. Maybe she's like, oh, well, maybe it's time to drag this back up from how many years ago, because she's kind of faded. Well, Chrissy Teigen's gotten bigger and bigger. Just
for her own well-being, I just don't know how this could have helped Courtney to talk about it in a public forum. Unless like it's vengeance related. You know, I think that if she were looking to heal, that's not the easiest way to heal from a trauma, is to make it public. And maybe Chrissy's doing all kinds of stuff we don't even know and needed to be stopped.
I have a feeling if this is the stuff that's been made public, that there's so much going on that we haven't heard about, that she could be bullying Jennifer Aniston as we speak. Who knows what she's tweeted in the middle of the night to Shauna Sands.
Poor Shauna. I think that the lesson we should all take away from this is get off of Twitter forever. All
right, it's not a news topic, but as someone who has done extensive editing, what are your word cringe moments? Because there's a lot of words out there and phrases that get overused or get used pretentiously. What are your pet peeves as an editor?
My peeves. Suddenly.
Suddenly. Why do you like suddenly?
That's really it. Suddenly. Oh. Suddenly what? Just let it happen. Why do you have to announce that it's about to happen? Just let it happen. If it's happening suddenly, you'll know it because it happens. I don't get it. Suddenly. No, not suddenly. It just let it happen.
That's a good one. Suddenly. I never thought, but I guess it is one of the most overused words in the English language. A buzzy word that I have grown to loathe, especially here in Los Angeles. Everybody says the word iconic too much.
Ooh.
If it's merely good, it is not iconic. All right?
No.
Michael Jackson was iconic. Marilyn Monroe was iconic. You are iconic.
I'm not iconic. So when the barista says that you're iconic, no. Not when no. Not yet. That's a good one.
That's definitely one of my word cringe moments. Another phrase, I will stop reading an article if I see this phrase, is love him or hate him. Oh, I hate that. When you're reading something, love them or hate them. It's just it's very cliche. It's very trite. And I can tell whatever's coming afterwards is not going to be the best.
It's going to be bad. I hate when people in real life say, it is what it is.
Yes.
Man.
Then what is it?
What is it? No, it isn't. What is it?
All right. As an editor, I need your final word. Oxford comma or no comma?
Put the freaking comma in there. Put the comma in there.
Marcella, an era is ending in the United States. Keeping Up with the Kardashians after what seems like 20 years is coming to an end. Have you watched the show?
What? I find it very comforting during times of trauma to watch a show that represents strong family values. And I'm not kidding. But no, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I think it's fascinating. And I definitely have seen episodes. Hyper reality and the boundary between real life and scripted life and what is real and what is not. And what are they? I love it.
I very vividly remember when she became famous because I remember first seeing her in a magazine or whatever when she used to arrange Paris Hilton. She was Paris Hilton's closet arranger. She was like an assistant for Paris. I remember saying, wow, that's an attractive woman. I will tell you this, me and Kanye West have the same taste in women because I find both Amber Rose and Kim K very sexually attractive, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Does that mean you're kind of Kanye? Maybe you're like Kanye?
Maybe me and Kanye, we're on the same wavelength, maybe. I will go chat with him up on Neptune or wherever he goes.
Wyoming.
We will look back on their era as part of it's a bit of a sad commentary on the way we look at women's bodies and misogyny that they have to go through because, when Kim Kardashian first emerged on the pop culture landscape, I thought she was stunning. And, we all want to tweak and improve and everything. But I think all of them have gone too far with the surgery is how I feel. Because I considered all three of them good looking, attractive, sexy women when the show first started. Some of them look unrecognizable these days. I'm not saying they look bad, but I think just as a male preference, the original looks they had was more attractive. And I feel sad that they felt that's what they needed to do to look good.
I think everything that they've done with their appearances is so interesting. And, like you said, is it because of the male gaze and the way that they want to be seen by the audience? Was it for themselves? Why? Did Mama Chris make them do it? Who knows? It's a mystery. Will we ever really know?
But if I had an unlimited amount of money to spend on plastic surgery and a bunch of yes people surrounding me, maybe, I don't know. I will tell you this. I've not had any plastic surgery yet. If I had just a little more budget, Just a little lines on the forehead.
Just a smidge. Yeah, people don't talk about the reality of the forehead wrinkles once you turn 40. It's some bullshit. I'm like, not okay.
Well, you need to come visit me in Hollywood and we'll go not have surgery together. And we'll probably bump into Kourtney Kardashian there. I truly feel like this is a new day in the United States. The zeitgeist has moved on.
Yes, they won't be unified in the same way that they were. And it's going to be really interesting. I'm poised and ready to see what comes next. And I will say, Kim Kardashian, the Skims, like the underwear and the bras, that shit's what's up. It's really good. I'm a fan.
You've tried the Skims?
Yes, they're exceptional.
Do they have men's Skims?
I'm wearing the Skims right now. It's true.
I'm going to try that shit out. I need some male Skims.
They're working on men's Skims, man Skims. You should. Oh my God. Get the man Skims. They're solid.
What do you think's up next for the Kardashian clan?
I really want Kim to be a lawyer and to do the damn thing and prove to everyone that she's so smart. And I want Kourtney to ride off into the sunset with Travis Barker the way she deserves. And I want Khloe to dump that man of hers and get the next version up because she deserves so much better.
I think her picker is off, as they would say.
I think that maybe she just hasn't known exactly who she was until now. And I hope that she finds her true soulmate because she deserves it.
I have no ill will or anything to the Kardashians, but it does feel like a changing of the guard. It feels like a different era is entering.
Who will take up that space? Who is going to take up the space in culture that they've been? It is not going to be, what's her name? Charlie from the TikTok?
It's funny because we think about these people that were so big in a certain time. Think about our parents' generation in the 70s. It's remember how people used to talk about Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson and stuff? And now it's not even a blip. That's what's in store. It's a change. It's a new era. It's a new time. The post-Trump, post-keeping up with the Kardashians time. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Marcella, thank you for joining me here on Tea with Charles podcast. I know my listeners want to know all about you. Where can they find you online?
I am on Instagram at Mar Hammer Time. MAR Hammer Time. Stop.
And they can enjoy your broadcast from Palette as well?
Yes. We're also on Instagram at Palette Community, or just come find me. I'll send you right there.
I love it. So everybody find Mar Hammer Time on Instagram. Go check out Palette. And I wish you luck with all your future projects. I miss you, darling. We're like bi-coastal in the wrong way. It's we need to intersect at some point.
I miss you. It's true. But do we really want to meet in the middle? No, not in the middle of America.
Well, Marcella, I love you. I miss you. I hope you have a fabulous summer. And thank you for joining me on the Tea with Charles podcast.
Thank you for having me, Charles. You are just a joy.
Support the Tea with Charles podcast by signing up to be one of my Patreons at patreon.com/Tea with Charles. You can get exclusive content such as chapters of my latest audiobook, Beverly Hills Postmate. Keep on rocking in the free world. This has been Charles St. Anthony. I will catch up with you next time.
Ta-ta for now.